Travis went good soul. This video is going to be structured a little bit differently. I'm going to put in a clip from the living prophets of Jesus. And then I'm going to give commentary. The topic, as you could have guessed from the title, is about how the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has absolutely no authority. Matthew chapter 24, verse 24, even though we can go back to 23. If any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall shew great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Joseph Smith gives you additional assistance after Matthew. There's no script, just going off of inspiration. Matthew chapter 7, verse 15. To assist us with the identification of false Christs, false prophets, Matthew chapter 7, starting in verse 15. Beware of false prophets. You shall know them by their fruits. They shall have the appearance of righteousness, but inwardly they are devils, corrupt. Wherefore you by their fruits you shall know them. Now, this is obviously not talking about them being gardeners and planting seeds, and if it grows up into good fruit, therefore they must be a prophet. Liken the word unto a seed. So the word is not the truth until you run the test. So Joseph Smith now gives us additional information to help us out as Mormons exclusively. Section 42, verse 59. Thou shalt take the things which thou hast received, which have been given unto thee in my scriptures. So things as words, precepts, for a law, to be my law, to govern my church. Scriptures are the law to govern Joseph's church. Okay? Number 1.
This is an occasion of great significance for members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints throughout the world. Dating from October 10th, 1880, when John Taylor was sustained to succeed Brigham Young as prophet, seer, and revelator, and president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Succession. As Joseph told us, the scriptures are the law to govern his church, so that Mormons will not be deceived by false prophets. Irene informed us with Nelson's solemn assembly that it began for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints when John Taylor succeeded Brigham Young. Is that in scriptures for the president of the 12 to take over as the head of the church automatically. Doctrine and Covenants, section 107, verse 22. Of the Melchizedek priesthood. The Melchizedek priesthood body contains several quorums, more so under Joseph Smith. So it does not include the Aaronic priesthood. 3 presiding high priests. Joseph Smith is just 1, and then he has counselors. The Quorum of the 70 has a presiding 70 of 7 presidents. Joseph Smith is saying, of the Melchizedek priesthood, 3 presiding high priests. Section 107, verse 22. Scriptures are the law to govern Joseph's church. Chosen. By the body. The whole Melchizedek priesthood upon the death of Joseph Smith are to gather in a Mormon-style conclave and vote for 3 to lead the church of Joseph Smith, and then appointed and ordained to that office. Brigham Young has no authority. John Taylor, no authority. All the way to Russell Marion Nelson, no authority. We're technically done. This is a false church, false prophet, leading the false church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. However, number 2.
It is proposed that the first presidency sustain Russell Marion Nelson as prophet, seer, and revelator, and president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints,
by directing who will be given the authority of the priesthood, who will hold its offices, and how its rights and powers will be conferred. For example, a person who holds the priesthood is not able to confer his office or authority on another unless authorized by one who holds the keys. Without that authorization, the ordination would be invalid.
The leadership as president of the church are required to have certain keys of authority. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints claims authority from Peter. Section 107, verse 91. The Scriptures are the law to govern Joseph's church. And again, the duty of the president of the office of the high priesthood is to preside over the whole church and to be like unto Moses. Joseph Smith gets the keys of Moses at the Kirtland Temple on the 3rd day of Passover, April 3rd, 1836, in verse 11. On with seeing some others. After this vision closed, the heavens were opened again unto us, and Moses appeared before us. and committed unto us the keys of the gathering of Israel. This has to do with an Exodus, because Moses has a whole book titled Exodus about Moses's Exodus of the children of Israel from Egypt, from the false Christ, Pharaoh. A man like Moses is the head of Joseph Smith's church. Deuteronomy 18, verses 15 through 19, is the law of the Jews, and the scriptures of the Jews are the law to govern the church of the Jews. Wrong chapter. The Jewish author of Deuteronomy gives us a prophecy, prediction of the future. The Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me. This is the Jewish Christ. Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints says it's Jesus. Joseph Smith told you he's a Mormon. Joseph Smith history, 1838, verse 40, second vision. Joseph Smith writes, he said that prophet that I just read to you, although he refers to the version in Acts, not the version in the Book of Mormon either, was Christ. But the day had not yet come when they who would not hear his voice should be precisely as it stands in our New Testament. Joseph Smith is very blatantly obvious as to who this Mormon will be. Section 103, verses 15 through 18. Behold, I say unto you, the redemption of Zion must needs come by power. Therefore, I will raise up unto my people a man who shall lead them like as Moses. For Mormons are the house of Israel, seed of Abraham, must needs be led out of bondage by power and a stretched out arm. And as your fathers were led at first, even so shall the redemption of Zion be. Latter days, millennial Zion, there will be a Mormon who rises up with the keys of Moses, because nobody would succeed Joseph Smith properly to lead the church with authority, to bestow authority for others of the Melchizedek priesthood, to lead the church out of the great and abominable church, to get them to safety to Zion with an exodus. I warned you we could have stopped at succession. Next.
And they shall pay 1/10 of all their interest annually, and this shall be a standing law unto them forever. The Lord clearly directed how tithing should be dispersed, saying, "Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse," meaning bring the tithes into his restored kingdom, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He directed that the use of these sacred tithes would be prayerfully considered by a council of the First Presidency, the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, the presiding bishopric, and by mine own voice unto them, saith the Lord.
In the Lord's commandment to the people of this day, tithing is 1/10 of all their interest annually, which is understood to mean income. The First Presidency has said no one is justified in making any other statement than this. We pay tithing, as the Savior taught, by bringing the tithes into the storehouse. We do this by paying our tithing to our bishop or branch president. We do not pay tithing by contributing to our favorite charities. The contributions we should make to charities come from our own funds, not from the tithes we are commanded to pay to the storehouse of the Lord. The Lord has directed by revelation that the expenditure of his tithes will be directed by his servants, the First Presidency, the Quorum of the 12, and the presiding bishopric.
Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even this whole church. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse. Section 120. We could have fact-checked them. You should have fact-checked them. The scriptures are the law to govern the church. Are the Quorum of the 12 listed here? No. Concerning the disposition and properties tithed, verily thus saith the Lord, the time is now come that it shall be disposed of by a council, composed of the First Presidency of my church, and of the bishop and his council, and of my high council, and by mine own voice unto them, saith the Lord. Even so, amen. No Quorum of the 12. Remember I told you about Joseph Smith having additional quorums for the Melchizedek priesthood? Yeah, this was one of them, the Quorum of the High Council. They were the administration. They were over the whole church, not the stakes. But yeah, as you spread out and grow, yeah. But Brigham Young did away with the High Council, with no authority to do so. Scriptures are the law to govern the church. The 12 apostles are missionaries and have no authority to touch tithing. They are robbing God. They are robbing you. They are robbing Zion. They are false prophets. Next.
The Lord wants all his children to partake of the eternal blessings available in his temple. He has directed what each person must do to qualify to enter his holy house. All requirements to enter the temple relate to personal holiness. To assess that readiness, each person who wants to enjoy the blessings of the temple will have 2 interviews. First, with a bishop, bishopric counselor, or branch president. Second, with a stake or mission president or one of his counselors. In those interviews, several questions will be asked. Some of those questions have recently been edited for clarity. I would like to review them for you now. Are you a full tithe payer?
As the president of the church, only Joseph Smith has the keys over the control of the temple to set it in order. Nobody else. As such, only Joseph Smith married Mormons. The Joseph Smith Papers has a number of licenses of Joseph Smith marrying one man and one woman. No, he was not a polygamist. Those who had no authority framed and blamed him for it. I've done the videos of Brigham Young's published Black Book of sealings in the Nauvoo Temple in January of 1846. This is when Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball sealed, without authority, Joseph Smith to all of the wives that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints claims. Everyone else who says that Joseph Smith was practicing polygamy during his lifetime are liars. They are false. They are trying to deceive you. Authority. Run the test for a false prophet. That's all you had to do. Section 85. Verse 7 and 8. And it shall come to pass, this is a future prophecy, it had nothing to do with Joseph Smith's day and time. I, the Lord, will send one mighty and strong. That's the man like Moses, the president of the church, holding the scepter of power in his hand, clothed with light for a covering, whose mouth shall utter words, eternal words, while his bowels shall be a fountain of truth. To set in order the house of God, the temple, Bethel in Hebrew. And to arrange by lot the inheritances of the saints. Oh, the keys of Moses. What do you know? Whose names are found, and the names of their fathers and of their children enrolled in the book of the law of God. Elijah. The next segment will include Brute's tech of Nelson and Wendy. I was trying to find where Nelson said that he had sealed all his children, or most of them. Couldn't find it. So we'll use the other one on Elijah for the final one. The book of the law is who gets to come into Zion, where the temple is the city of Zion, to be set in order after Brigham Young destroyed it with no authority and made alterations, not Joseph Smith. Again, authority. When Brigham Young says, Joseph Smith asked me to do this, does he have authority? No. He was to be a missionary, to preach the scriptures, which are the law of the church. So, while that man who was called of God and appointed, that putteth forth his hand to steady the ark of God, this is the false prophet from Deuteronomy 18, verse 20. Like I said, the head of the church, the man like Moses. This is the false prophet that Deuteronomy talks about. He does not have authority over the temple. He was called of God, he was appointed, but not to be the head of the church, to be a missionary, to preach the scriptures, which are a law of the church of Joseph Smith. And here he is, tampering with the temple. No authority. The curse of Joseph Smith on all presidents. I should put that picture in for you too here. I think we can now conclude, even though there are a whole bunch more I could put in.
And I just spelled a name that explains why the family is so important. Elijah.
Wait, I thought Scrabble wouldn't allow proper names. How did you do that?
Well, this Scrabble game allows proper names. I think it knows we need to talk about Elijah. There's great significance in the name Elijah. The name El-I-Yah in Hebrew literally means, my God is Jehovah. Think of it. Embedded in Elijah's names are the Hebrew terms for both the Father and the Son.
Wow, that's really something to think about. Elijah was the last prophet to hold the sealing power of the Melchizedek priesthood before the time of Jesus Christ. Elijah's mission was to turn the hearts of the children to the fathers and the hearts of the fathers to the children so they could be sealed, or else the whole earth would be utterly wasted. That's pretty strong language. Utterly wasted?
It is very strong language. Tithing will keep your name enrolled among the people of God and protect you in the day of vengeance and burning.
As is evident, I can keep going on and on and on and on and on over all the scriptures to show you how the test demonstrates the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a fraud and false. But from the clip of Nelson and Wendy, as Nelson botches translation, as Wendy doesn't understand her scriptures, because Elijah was not the last prophet to hold the keys of sealing. If you knew and understood that if you're going to call the Bible created by Christians and turned literal history as literal history, the story of Elijah is where he passes off the mantle, keys of authority, to Elishua. He's Elias, incorrectly named, in section 110 for the Gospel of Abraham, the Gospel of Salvation, because that's the name, Eli, God, Shua. Nelson botched Elijah because it's the God Yah. It is not Heavenly Father and Jesus. He's using biblical Hebrew, which created a multi-personality disorder with the added vowels. Like I said, I can keep going on and on and on and on and on and on how these guys are false. That's why I have over 8.8K videos on all my channels on YouTube, plus some sealed portions and some banned videos because of the Biden administration attacking Americans and the YouTube Mormon employee down in Utah County, using that as an excuse to come after me. I am a religious leader. I do religious channel videos. I am protected by the First Amendment for my religious freedom speech. I am only doing this to save Mormons. Mormons are not listening. Mormons don't believe. Mormons have been deceived by false prophets because they didn't run the test to make sure that they are true. John chapter 10. This was brought to my attention by Oaks, who sent you yet another death threat for this year. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up by some other way. You need a key to enter into the door to have authority over the sheep. The church. To be the shepherd. The president. The same is a thief and a robber. False prophets have ulterior motives. Verse 10. That thief cometh not, but to steal, rob God, and to murder, and to destroy. Wendy quoted from the 1838 Joseph Smith history of the second vision. The added information from Malachi. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven. And they didn't need to put all of this in brackets, just the added part. And all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall burn as stubble. Now pay attention. You have believed that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which I've made very plain, pure, and most preciously, are false. They are deceiving you. They are robbing you. They are murdering you. They tell you that you are to wait for the second coming of Jesus. That Jesus is going to come from the mushroom clouds of glory and burn everybody. But don't worry, if you're righteous and are paying your tithing, you will be resurrected. Would you like black cherry Kool-Aid? Here's what Joseph Smith added. For they that come shall burn them, saith the Lord of hosts. You believe it's Jesus who's the Lord of hosts. Okay, run the test. Jesus tells Joseph Smith, "For they that come shall burn them." Oh, it's not Jesus. It's the enemy. Or verse 1, the evil disposed and designing militant persons who forge documents and put in tares among the wheat, such as the name Jesus in the title of Joseph Smith's church. Willard Richards, by the way. Evil disposed, designing, militant Danites with no authority. They are to come and burn the world and frame and blame Jesus. Utterly wasted in verse 39. Thus, baptisms for the dead is also the fraud of the Danites, because of the burning that they are going to cause. So thus, they do baptisms for the dead as a coded messaging that Mormons are to be destroyed and burned, being robbed, but that their ultimate goal is to murder and destroy the whole world, rob them blind, with the false claim that you will be resurrected if you're righteous. President Dallin H. Oaks, Las Vegas, Nevada, Saturday, March 14th, 2020, spoke to the brand new called and appointed mission presidents with their wives, who are going to now start and not return for 2 years. He says, as quoted by President Markey, who was going to the Australian mission, "This is not the end of the world, but merely a test, a trial run for the second coming of Jesus." But they keep telling us, as did the Christian who put in Matthew, "No man knows the day or the hour." What if the second coming of Jesus was the next day? Or any day throughout that whole year? Wow, that would have been embarrassing for Oaks. Again, he's a false prophet. He has no authority. Jesus is not the Christ. He is telling them they're the great and abominable church who are going to come and burn people and frame and blame Jesus. Remember, over 8.8K videos. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a fraud. Because they have no authority, they are, as John tells us, they're merely to rob, to murder, and destroy. The threefold mission of the church: mass murder, theft, and coup of governments by destroying the world. So when I do my news coverage every single morning for you, which there really wasn't anything, the Putin-Trump meeting was just so that they could meet in private one-on-one for 3 hours. As Trump again gave them the new nuclear codes. And other documents that he didn't flush down the toilet with the new water pressure. Etc., etc. I have documented everything, guys. This video is just a small sampling. And yeah, it's a little disorganized as I couldn't find the family thing. Because if I had been organized from the beginning, if I knew at the beginning the end result, I was just following the inspiration. And the fruits are so overwhelming that oh my God. They're all Zion projects now for when I make the large and the small plates. The church is going to murder you guys. This has been my warning the whole time. They are false, and they are going to murder you. They are robbing you blind. They have no authority, which means you have no authority. Any of the ordinances performed were done without authority. Yes, even your marriages. Despite the state recognizing it, they are null and void still nonetheless. Because it's called fruit of the poison tree in legal terminology. This is a frauding of the government that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is doing. Oakes knows this as a former prosecutor and Utah Supreme Court justice. They are knowingly evil, knowingly corrupt. They are not innocent. They have led you astray. They have deceived you. And this year, here we go. So if you haven't caught on who your true leader is supposed to be as prophesied by Joseph Smith, why do I keep doing videos to an audience that refuses to believe? Why? Why? Run the test. The scriptures are the law to govern the church.